Unfiltered, uncensored, and unapologetic. This is the Retail Warzone podcast.
Welcome to the Retail Warzone. I am Steve. I'm joined with my co-host, the Irish Connection, and tonight we have essential author Adam Kaat with us this evening. So this will be Adam's third time on the show and friend of the channel. He's done a great service for everybody, that works in this kind of business. And so what we're going to do, this is going to be kind of a shoot the shit. Let's talk about his process. Let's talk about the books, where he's going, where he's been. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask. I'm sure he will have no problem answering them. When the video goes live, you can look at the video description. There's going to be a direct link to his website and also a direct link to his store to where you can purchase the books. And having said that, Adam, tell us a little bit about your store and what we were discussing prior to the stream about the value of the two.
So yeah, on my website, adamkaat.com, you can buy both books at a $5 discount. So they're both autographed. They're $40 for both of them, shipping included, to anywhere in the United States. And if it was outside the United States, we can talk about it or something. But yeah, it saves a little bit of money because I think it's valuable to read both, especially like quickly together. I had a guy, you should try reading is his Facebook page, and he read them both really quick together and he absolutely loved it. He gave me spectacular reviews and such a very nice guy. But yeah, I think that's the best way to kind of approach buying the books for either yourself or for other people.
I agree with that. And I'm going to use a video game analogy here that really rings true to what you just said. So I've played the Red Dead Redemption games, and, I had never played the first one ever. But I totally enjoyed Red Dead Redemption 2. And what I did was I played through Red Dead Redemption 2, which was a prequel, and then went straight into the original game. And it is much more impactful when you do that. And I would agree, especially with the start of the Patron Saints, that he's right. Read them back to back. It's the most impactful. So having said that, how you been?
Been good, man. It's been it was a long time coming. The second book took me a long time. I wasn't living through it anymore. I don't work in retail anymore. I work in customer service still. I just work for a big corporation, a consumer packaged goods company that does dairy. And yeah, it's been an interesting journey because the first one kind of flowed with the blog that I had, Life on the Grocery Line. And the second one, I was starting as I finished the first one. But then I by, when I published it, I think a month later, I got a new job, and I was like, okay, well, this is a little more difficult. You have to kind of look back on everything. So the first book is written in present tense, first person present tense, and the second book is written in first person past tense. So it does fit my life a little bit. It's like looking back on the past as the journey that he took through the grocery store, his life as he moved away from being a cashier into receiving, and then he gets kind of recruited into being into management. And ultimately, this isn't giving away too much, but he puts in his 2 weeks in the last third of the book is called Short Timers. That's where he's starting to not give a fuck even more. There's a lot of weird things start to happen a little more. But he's starting to find himself. The whole journey, I think in general, is definitely about finding your way through what seems like an impossible circumstance. I was trapped there in a store. I couldn't move. I was they definitely, could have, no one was hiring. I wanted to leave. I wanted to get out, but I had to make the best of it. So I tried to get into management. That was a nightmare. And it's just you're paid like $3 more an hour to deal with other people's shit on top of longer hours.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like and it was, it's a supervisor position, so it's like you have no power. You can't really tell people what to do, or like or punish someone. You can't, like, if they like insubordinate or something, then you're screwed. There's nothing you can do about it. You just gotta suck it up. So it was like just a more stressful version of what I was doing before, with more responsibility and longer nights. And yeah, it's Daniel's journey follows mine like to a T almost, but it's most, like, I'd say instead of the first one where it's like maybe 70-80% nonfiction, like very much what happened in my life, the next one is like 90% fiction. Like the scenarios, the things you go through, like those aren't ones that I recall from my memory. They're just similar to the things that happened to me.
Right.
That makes sense.
Well, that makes sense. The one thing, and Adria, I see that you're here, and I know you work in grocery, and this is something that I would like to pose to everybody, that maybe we can get your help. We were talking off stream as I was trying to work through the technical difficulties. We need to find a way to get these books into grocery workers' hands. And I don't know what the correct avenue is for that. And I think Adam would agree. And, if there's some way we could figure out some sort of marketing campaign or something for Adam to get these books into the hands of people that work in grocery stores, especially the ones that worked during the pandemic, I think it would explode. Adam, would you agree?
Yeah, I wrote, like, writing is very much a personal thing. I wrote it for myself, but I knew too at the time that I was kind of like, there's a lot of people out there that were experiencing exactly what I was experiencing, but no one ever gave them a voice or wanted to write about it. And in that way, it kind of drove my mission a little bit farther to kind of get it out into the zeitgeist. And it's gotten there. At least a little bit, but I also think service industry workers, I've had a tremendous response from people that are servers, like just the Linda's and Dave's conversations that they read, it connects instantly. It's like something that I've heard such positive feedback that, people have said that it made them feel connected. Like they remember going through all that, and they're glad someone wrote about it and talked about it. So that'd be amazing. That would be really cool if I could find a way to get in front of people that otherwise feel, underrepresented or not talked about or forgotten, as some lady berates them in the seafood section of Vaughn's in some city, that makes me feel amazing when people do that. And I think it helps bring people together really too. So
it'd be nice to have some sort of viral campaign. I'll get with you the next few weeks. I think I got an idea, and I'll send you an email or a message and let you know. Irish, do you have any questions for Adam?
I'm curious. You have gotten out of grocery a little while ago, and that's given you a bit of space. And I'm just wondering, has your kind of perception changed at all, and would that affect any writings that you have? Like, have you suppressed all the terrible memories, or are they still pretty fresh? And do you have do you have that empathy still when you walk into a grocery store and you see someone getting chewed out by a manager or something like that? I'm just kind of curious, when you have a little bit of space between you and grocery, how that affects you.
I don't think that ever leaves me. I don't think that ever would. I still get berated. I just get it via email now. That's the only difference. It's like
right.
It higher volume amount of money. I have accounts that have millions of dollars, so they think everything's important too. Mm. And so I work for a dairy company, and they think milk is the most important thing in the world, so they'll just escalate things up the food chain. It's still not in your face. It's not that, but no, it'll never leave me. I do feel a sense of closure in a way with that time working at Whole Foods. I worked at King Soopers before that. I worked at Sam's Club for 4 years in college. Customer service has pretty much been my whole gig as far as like an adult, working adult. But and King Supers is owned by Kroger. But the yeah, it's ingrained in my bones. I do feel a sense of closure from my time working during the pandemic. Just because I got to tell the story that I wanted to. I'm fortunate enough that like at the time I was able to invest resources. People like have cared. They've spent money on my book and all those things. I've been very lucky and blessed to be able to have like had any modicum of success. And to kind of round it off and really, I don't know, solidify that place in my life and hopefully in others where people connect to it too, is really nice. But there wasn't even that long ago that I kind of stood up for someone just berating someone at the store. I'm like, dude, there's no need. And he's like, he just kind of backed off. Like people, if someone else says something to him, they usually back off, I feel like. But it's like, I don't know. It's so unnecessary to treat anyone with a lack of respect for just doing their job. You know, so I maybe I even feel more empathy now that I can have satellite view from it.
I think, the point that you made, and that says a lot. If you're a customer, let's say you're behind the customer that's showing their ass, so to speak, and you speak up, for whatever reason, that carries more weight than an employee taking up for that situation. And I think you're right about that. There's a different level of, I hate to say this, respect. The customer will look at the other customer and respect their opinion more than they'll respect the worker, which is why we're all here to begin with. But, I want to make sure that I get, questions out of the chat. Blame Tag asks, how did you find time to write while working an erratic retail schedule? Or maybe more accurately, was there anything you did to develop good writing habits around work? Asking for a friend. It's me.
I blame Tag. Well, like, so that's one thing I was pretty fortunate in a way, which, it doesn't seem fortunate because it was the pandemic. Everything was shut down. I was writing about my day-to-day things anyway with life on the grocery line. And I was when I moved into management, into a supervisor role, I worked nights. So it was 2 to 11 every day. And that kind of allowed me to write in the morning, and that's when I write best. So when that was, and I was able to churn out that book. When did I start the novel, the first one? I started it in, I want to say August or November of 2020. No, not August and November, like October of 2020. And I had a draft by the end of the year. I had a manuscript, which is insane. But I had all those like stories to weave together, right? And then like editing it was brutal. Having to second guess everything. And like an editor, she was telling me, keep it linear, keep it focused in one direction. And I was like, oh no, that's not the way I'm supposed to tell it. But then it makes all the sense in the world. Like the editor's right 90% of the time, I would say. I didn't really stand up for myself on anything in that because I thought she was pretty accurate. I found time because I just, working at nights, and I do better in the morning. Now, when I moved into the new job where I still do wake up same time, or like I start work at 8, or till 5 or 5. I got up at about 5:30, and throw some coffee down and just go. That was the only way to do it. And I had the sense of direction. I knew that I wanted, like I had to finish out the story. My story wasn't done with the grocery part, with the life on the grocery line and the patron saints of grocery. I knew it wasn't over. So I had that driving me, and my job still makes me miserable, dude. I don't like I don't like getting berated. I don't like the same stupid problems over and over again. So I use that as motivation to get up in the morning and keep writing. Editing is is difficult once I got into that part. I would also write on the weekends too. I go to a coffee shop and sit there. But editing is even a little bit lonelier, and it's like second guessing yourself, and it's rereading everything that you wrote before. Brutal, like being really like self-aware and taught, like, you know, acknowledging your faults. Like, this doesn't make any sense. This is poorly written, rewriting it. But then somehow you have to stop and not keep doing that. Like, you have to, like, you know, you have to find a place where you go back to the editor and then you go back and forth. So you don't just like sit there and overanalyze and like, think, I could say this better. Well, maybe you don't need to. Maybe that's just the right way to say it. So a good editor is key, and having good feedback, being self-aware, being analytical, but like finding that healthy medium of like, okay, I need to hand this off. She knows what she's talking about. It sounds great. Because I remember with the first book, I was like, are you sure this is okay? I wrote her so many emails, and she's like, no, this is really good. Like, this is on point. This is going the right direction. Are you telling the story you want to tell? And I'm like, yeah. Okay, then chill the fuck out, dude. Huh. It's hard because you're spilling yourself out there. You're putting yourself out into the world in a very vulnerable way that people won't even see for like months. They may never read, like a lot of people may never read it. You're kind of just putting yourself out into the void. And it is about habits though. It's just like writing every day. When you're in writing mode, write every day. No matter if it's like, I don't know, 2 paragraphs or something, or you just get in the zone and you crush out 5,000 words that you'll end up deleting later. There's a big section that I deleted out of the book too, out of the second one. It was about 20 pages. And I sat there for like a week, 2 weeks, like trying to figure it out. Like, yeah, should I write about it? Oh, good story so I had a bunch of edits done. And when you do editing, it's kind of like she sends all these edits and you fix it in Word. And I just kept leaving it up on the screen. I didn't shut off my computer and save it. Well, my autosave turned off. This was right at the beginning of the year.
Ooh.
Yeah, and then I shut it down and I lost 90 pages of edits.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. That was, I cried. I sat there and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, all of a sudden you lost every thought that you had because it's like you're moving so through it, right? Like, I'm not dwelling on what I edited earlier. So, like, when that happened, I had to stop. I lost about a month and a half from, because I was going really quick, but then like mentally it just broke me. It just I sat there and I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do, man. I felt so defeated, so fucking defeated. And I couldn't really get back to even trying for a few weeks. And it took about a month and a half before. That's why this book came out later than the other one. It was probably going to come out in April. But yeah, I'm proud of myself for sticking that out because that made me want to quit.
It sounds like people don't understand like the creative process. Like, for instance, being a musician. All right. There's been times I've recorded things and then I accidentally deleted them. Okay. That is so much different than putting thoughts on paper, because you can delete a piece of music, but you remembered, what you played. And that is so different than words and messaging. And I can't imagine how terrible that was.
It's like, because I was like, oh man, I'm cranking it out. I was going like 90 pages. Hell yeah, I'm doing great. And then all of a sudden you're not doing anything.
Yeah, because
you didn't do anything.
Yeah, because people don't understand. People have a weird concept of work. Even though it's something personally that you want to do, 90 pages of words, that's a lot of work that's gone. And you're doing this, for, to get your message out and what you're writing. And people just refuse to understand that the creative process is anything worth discussing, because you're not getting paid for it, you're not serving a customer, you're not doing whatever, it's still work. Would you not agree?
Oh, for sure. It's 100% work. It was two jobs for 3 years, basically. The thing too is like what you said earlier, the point of no one's paying you to do it. This is kind of like an independent deal in and of itself. I don't know what I'm going to try and search for the next job. If I'm going to try and get a book deal, I don't really want that. I don't want gatekeepers and things like that. But, no one's holding me accountable. There's no agent calling me like, Adam, where's our manuscript? Like, right. It's just, I have something I want to say and I need to say it. And I think I have a story worth value, and I want let it go for myself and put it out into the world. I have this like thing that I want to put out there. Somehow you got to like dig down, and you're not going to want to write. You're not going to want to edit. It happens when anything turns into a job, for sure. Yeah. Like music too. Like if let's say you start a band, right? And you have fun jamming together. It's a good time jamming. But if you want to turn that into something where it's a product or like something you put out there that it's work, you can make a living with. Yeah, it's immediately work. It's immediately that. And you could write a novel in obscurity, but I think it does a disservice to the idea of like creating. It doesn't mean that you have to care what other people think, and it's not the sole purpose, but it's nice to have feedback. And it's been so nice when you guys like discovered the first book and you start like you connect with people through things. Yeah. It's beautiful. I mean, it's an absolute beautiful thing. Look,
I have no problem saying that first book should be mandatory reading for all of retail. That what you did with that first book, and it's a shame it hasn't caught fire, is amazing, because it was dead on, and there are people that work in this industry that haven't read that book, that if they ever get the opportunity to, like I told you before, on your very first time on the podcast, you hear voices in your head because you hear customers you deal with saying those same things. And that's a shame, because you poured so much time into that book and the second book that you deserve that to be in the hands of people that need it. And, Adria in the chat, she said, the hardest thing is to try to read it as if you're the audience. Well, yeah. I would agree with that. So, Irish, do you have anything you would like to add, sir?
I just think it's really interesting that, it's such a niche market that affects millions and millions of people. And, it's still, you're probably owning that niche market by virtue of the fact you've published 2 books. I'm surprised it's not bigger, is what I'm saying in short, and that, there's an amazing opportunity there to really steer that, because I have a funny feeling that niche market will explode someday, because, he's like myself and Steve talked about it loads of times. We're still kind of surprised this is the only podcast really doing this, and you're the only author that I know of doing it. And it's, I'm just wondering if you have an opinion on that. Why is it that retail that affects millions of people has such a niche market for things like this?
Well, I mean, yeah, what I thought about with the books too are kind of a niche market, just reading in general. It's more accessible now that you can have a Kindle or something like that. And I get paid for Kindle pages. So a lot of people have read my book via Kindle. But like it's a really small amount. The people that have bought it, there's been about 1,000 sold.
Real quick, not to interrupt. Okay. I just want to ask, because as a musician and we hear about Spotify, you say you got paid on Kindle reads. Is it kind of like the same thing like Spotify? Like you get paid, but it ain't a lot.
Yeah, it's per page, and I think it's a few cents per page. I think honestly, overall, Amazon's pretty good to authors. traditional publishing deal, you might get in advance. Let's say it's your first book. You might get $3,000. And that I don't think you have to pay that back generally, but unless your book sells that much, you won't see any other money from it. And what they do is they buy an amount of books and they sit in a warehouse. I can do this too independently. So they predict you're gonna, sell 1,000 books. They think your book can do that the first time. So buy 1,000, sits in a warehouse. And until really like you get past your $3,000 worth of sales, you won't see any what's the word?
Royalties.
Royalties. Yeah, you won't see any royalties till after you get past your small amount of money. And then it's a small amount. It might be like $2 a book. With Kindle or with Amazon, depends on the price of the book, but it's like $7 or $8 a book. And then Kindle Pages is a few cents, but I mean, I've been averaging like 1,000 pages a day. So it's added like $1 or $2 to my life. I would love it to be like, 100,000 pages a day across the world is like reading it. But I honestly I think it's been pretty good overall. You need a big bump. You kind of need like a big platform that someone promotes your book that likes it a lot. Get on a podcast like that, or someone that has 250,000 followers. One of the things you were talking about, Irish, you were talking about the niche. There's a lot of like bookstagrammers that are out there, and they can probably impact sales pretty good. I have 20,000 followers on Instagram, and they have a ton of engagement in their posts, but they all read the same thing. Like I literally look through like hundreds of them. They pretty much all read the same top novel that's coming from Penguin Publishing.
Right. They're jumping on the clicks, right?
Yes. And they probably have a stack of books that's like 100 high, and they're getting paid from Penguin to review it. That's probably what's happening. So like I sent out, I don't know, maybe 50 or so emails and got one response, and she didn't like the book. She said it was too raw or something like that, I think is what she said. She thought she would relate to it as a nurse. And I'm like, she was expecting me to write a different book. She wanted me to write the book she wanted to, like she was thinking of, instead of the book I wrote. That's the way her review was.
Right.
But
this is kind of interesting. And let me interject here. And this is why. Because we're discussing the context of what you're writing and like what we do and whatnot, and how is it so hard to break through. And like I said, I 100% will always say that Life on the Grocery Line should be mandatory reading for anybody getting into this business pre or post pandemic. Okay. I think what you did with that book was absolutely fucking amazing. I don't, the reason, the fact that that's not like a New York Times bestseller really, really crawls my skin. That really disturbs me, because it was that fucking good. But when you talk about a niche audience, it's good to those of us who worked in that business, and it's the marketing and getting it to those people. And I just don't think, corporate, publicists and people like that realize that. And there's such an untapped market for what you have done that's fucking depressing. I mean, you should have a million copy selling book on the first one. You really should. And I sincerely mean that. And when you look at the amount of people that work in the industries we work in, what's keeping them from seeing it? I mean, and it's promotion and it's marketing and there again, it's capitalism, because it costs money to market and whatnot. And, you're not going to find a publisher's going to be like, okay, we're going to market this. We're going to get all our analytics and we're going to market this to people that work in grocery business. No, the fuck they're not. And that's a shame because your works aren't being seen by the people that need to see them. And collectively, as a group, all of us, you know, we have to find a way to make that happen. I have no problem putting up a splash screen on every single fucking video we do showing, hey, go buy this book, because it's pertinent. It means something. It's not nonsense. You can call it fiction, whatever you want, but you encapsulated everything we went through in that first book, period. And it kind of shows the public interest isn't there for the quote unquote essential workers. And that's why I've called you like essential author, because you are an essential author. Yeah. I mean, I hope that in time, 20 years or whatnot, you know, we look back at Adam Kaat. He did something that was a time capsule for what millions of people went through. And it aggravates me that we're not there yet. And having said that, we talked about this off stream. I want to show this real quick. Hopefully the camera pick it up because I've got green screen and whatnot. But this is his second edition of Life on the Grocery Line. And you see that right there? You see that little symbol? So, Adam, can you tell us a little bit about that? It's your Indie Book Awards.
Yeah, so I submitted my book to a national indie book award contest. So it's either self-published books or like small publishers. Mine would be considered a small publisher, and they had a COVID-19 category. And, you know, it costs a little bit of money to enter these things, but like I figured, you know what, I probably have something. My book would be interesting on that topic, and yeah, I got some I got a thing in the email that told me I was a finalist. I didn't win. There were I think there were 5 finalists and 2 winners, or runner up and a winner. And, you know, that's probably out of a few hundred books that were sent in. You can send in, you could send in a book that's not edited and it has no back cover or anything, like that sort of thing. I mean, as long as it's printed. And it was pretty cool. Like someone in some judge in there thought maybe even more than one, thought I wrote the best book about COVID that was submitted. It feels pretty cool. It feels very validating to have and you know, there's thousands of books entered into this thing. There's probably 100 or 200 on COVID. I think the ultimate winner was something about the virus, the impact on, it was like a political book, something like that. So it was anything about COVID, which leaves it wide open. And mine was definitely the only novel on there. And yeah, I think in some way it got some pretty good recognition. It felt pretty good to have that on. It looks really cool too.
The legitimacy, like you said. Oh, there it is. Yep.
Is it blurring?
It's blurring, but it looks cool.
Yeah, it turned out to really make an impact in some way, more than bigger than you'd think. You know, I've had some really incredible reviews about this from strangers, complete strangers that connected with it from all types of areas, from different industries. So it connects. It has meaning, and it's definitely probably made an impact in some people's lives, which is really meaningful for me. But I also think that it sheds light on, you know, the plight of people working grocery stores and retail and service industry folks that people understand the struggle.
It does. I mean, that your first book, Adam, was amazing. I mean, like I said, when we had you on the very first time, it was, things you had put in that book, we could literally hear people that we've dealt with saying the same things. So you captured the moment, and I just, I'll help you any way I can to get it out there, because I really believe that you're an essential author, and as far as I'm concerned, it's essential reading. It just is. Irish.
I really appreciate that. I have an idea. Like so we were talking about like why the book has been more slow to grow, right?
Right.
And like also a podcast your guys' podcast hasn't like blown up like you would think it is, because there's so many retail workers, right? I mean, they're longer form in a way, right? So you have to find a way to like bind it to people. Like, what's the audience of short information that leads them to bigger information? So like, who's the gentleman that always does those funny videos about like from the customer's perspective? Or not from the customers, from the employee's perspective when they ask him stupid questions. He's done really well. It's on like TikTok.
Not sure.
Okay. Well, I think I've seen you share him, but like he's done really well. But he's like he has the short attention span. And people working in grocery stores got busy lives with families, and work's fucking, I don't know, just insufferable sometimes. You have to deal with stupid assholes like berating you for no reason. That it's harder to like, you got to find the audience to get in front of them.
Okay. I know here, Scott Seiss.
That's it, Scott Seiss. He's done really well. I mean, he's like in movies and stuff now, and I'm pretty sure he was nobody before the pandemic, or not really anyone of note. And that was like the short, funny things that kind of like launched it in. And if you can find a way to connect that way, it could lead to the bigger conversation you want to have. You have the micro conversations that lead into the bigger ones, if that makes sense.
I mean,
I'm just thinking now.
I agree with that to an extent, and we've tried that. You have to be able to balance the idea of comedy with real life. And look, I'm not good with that. It's like looking at the chat, blame tag is like, Steve should record the audiobooks for Adam's books. No, I use the F word way too fucking much. Probably not good. And that's probably what he's referencing. But no, I mean, and that's the thing. You talk about the niche audience. Your book is very similar. Like we're just talking about life on the grocery line. We're not talking about patrons. I mean, because it's a continuation. So we got to get them into life first to bring them along the journey. But it's right. The same thing. It's like, okay, you have this great piece of work, right? That people aren't seeing. And it's kind of like, and look, we're not Pulitzer Prize winning people here. Look, I mean, I got long hair. I'm pissed off at the industry and whatnot, but there's a lot of people out there that have the same opinions that I do, you do, Irish does, and whatnot. And finding them has been the problem. And, the same thing with your book, because I don't know. I mean, if I won the lottery today, Adam, and I had millions of dollars, I would send a copy of Life on the Grocery Line to every fucking grocery store chain location in the United States, because they need to have it. And, and that's kind of what we're up against, is there's people that have great things to say, people who have written things that are pertinent, that we're getting no traction because we don't fall in line with, like you said, the short attention span, it's comedic, whatever, when we really do have kind of a message to spread. And having said that, Irish, your take on that?
I'd be pretty much along. Look, I think the success of things like Scott Seiss is like there is a kind of instant validation. If you're frustrated at your grocery store job, like, it takes 30 seconds of watching him and you kind of, you get that dopamine hit, like, but it takes a bit more effort, like, to go to read the book. But the main difference, even though they're both kind of recreational, is that the book is, in my opinion, kind of, it's a timestamp almost, like, it may not actually, the value may increase in time, because in 20 years there's going to be very little written at that time by a person who is there dealing with it, other than academic studies and stuff like that, and things that are probably winning the prizes now. But very, very few things will actually be written from, the employee's perspective, what it was like to be told you're essential and you have to go to work while the world burns around them and everyone else gets to stay at home. So it has a value there, but unfortunately, there isn't the same instant payoff. So it's very hard to go viral and, excuse the pun, and kind of take off. But that doesn't make it any less valuable, though,
I agree with that. And Adam, your take on that, because I think he's right there. And you said this prior to us going live about being a moment in time, like a time capsule or whatnot. Here you are doing these books. You wind up being 60 years old and all of a sudden life on the grocery line explodes. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it definitely is and so that's the appeal for other people, I think, that haven't worked in the industry, is like, it is a time and place thing. Also too, like, if you think about it too, the connectivity of what connects grocery store workers, the people that worked there during that time, but how many of them were like just college students or whatever, and they moved on to a different job? So how do you like wrangle them in too? I like, honestly, I'm not surprised that it's taken longer to pick up, because it's doing better now than it's ever done. And it could just keep going like that as people get more interested in what happened. We get farther out and people forget that it even happened. It feels like a very distant thing already. And I'm curious to see, like, the second book is kind of just going to be in tale, honestly. I think it's something that people will really like. It's got romance. It's got a lot of like banter on a more extensive level than the first one. The first one's a lot of conversations with Linda's and Dave's. The second one has like awkward sex scenes because, I don't know. My experience in retail for my entire life is like half the people are fucking each other.
That's true. That is so true. Continue.
100%. It happened to me too. So it's like, it's like, you're just, everyone, like, you kind of commiserate. You work in that same environment. A lot of people are young. It can be fun in a moment to like bullshitting with people, and it's you suffer together, suffer well, I think is a good term.
Yeah.
As far as what I felt like when I was doing receiving during the pandemic, and like there was like 3 other receiving guys for different departments. All it was just like bullshitting with other people and having a lot of laughs and having a good time, because it kind of kept you away from the people in the front, the customers. So I wanted to incorporate all of that. And to me, there were things that I really love about working in retail. I love the people. I love the kind of like the attitude about it all. It was carefree in a lot of ways. I'm sure, like, Steve, you've been working in for a long time. It changes too, but like a lot of the people that have been working there forever are hilarious and fun. And
I have something I need to send you. I send it to Blame Tag. It's extremely private, but yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so yeah, to me, like this is the second one's like a love-hate letter. It's like everything I loved and hated about working in retail because I've done it pretty much my whole life. It wasn't just during the pandemic. I put the pandemic even in the background on the second one. So like, it's not the subject like it was in the first one. It's more about like the world that people don't see, the kind of beauty of working with a bunch of people that like, they all go their separate directions and just things change pretty quick. Like there's people that are there for 2 weeks, or they don't even make it through their 2 weeks because they just quit. There's people that have been there for 40 years. That's a pretty dynamic difference than what you see in like corporate America, for example.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
Most people like that I work with are at least there, unless they're temps, have been there for they'll be there for a couple of years at least. It's taken more serious by some, but it's also mundane. I I think it's important to stamp the time. I hope it is. I hope people really like remember, because it was a wild fucking time, and it like there was millions of people that couldn't just stay at home. They had to go to work, and they had to deal with everyone else that was panicked because of like they had to go to the store.
Yay, capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
it was definitely.
But you're right.
Go ahead.
100% right. And that's the thing. But the thing that pains me is the fact that you shouldn't have to wait till you're 60 years old for this thing to pop. You know, I do believe at some point in time, this book's going to explode because, like you said, it's a time capsule. It is just such a fucking shame. It's going to be a slow drip, like you said, and you're going to have to wait that long.
You know, it's okay. So one thing I didn't notice, I do have the audiobook. If anyone's interested, it's up on Audible for the first one. And it's read with a bunch of different, it's me, my producer, which is just a buddy of mine. And then this woman that I know that does a bunch of great voices. And I didn't really know it until I read or had to read the book out loud. How fucking funny it is. It's like,
it is.
It's really, really funny. I had a hard time finishing so many different parts, and I don't like to only lame people sit there and think they're funny. I think that's like, you can, unless you're a comedian professionally, but I was like, wow, this, and then I started to get feedback. I'm like, this is so hilarious. Like that, because like you said, the voices in your head, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ideas that like, you've had this conversation in some form or another with some batshit crazy person in your store, and like it brings it to life. It animates life in a whole different angle, and I think that's an attractive part that people will slowly get when they can maybe let go of like the pain of the pandemic, because there was a lot of that. But if you can like learn to laugh at the darkness a little bit, it might go farther and like ease its way into society, because it's been doing it slowly but surely. I'm expecting it to pop at some point. But.
Yeah. Do you really feel like, one day, like the sales and everything are kind of like died down, and then one day you're going to wake up and your phone's blowing up like, oh, holy shit, everything just exploded?
I mean, I can dream, right? Like I wish every day that I'm like, oh man, maybe my phone will check it today and I'll have like 100 sales in one day randomly.
Yeah.
Like someone the only time that really happens though is someone with a platform gets a hold of it. And it's like, this is really awesome. So one of the reasons that a lot of the media that I didn't really make it like blow up was, okay, even NPR is like a very quick moving timeline, right?
Yeah.
It's just there. And most people don't listen to it as a podcast. I was on BBC, which is a huge.
Oh, hold up. Let me ask you something. Were you approached by Patty Hirsch?
That name doesn't sound
okay.
Continue.
I'll send you a message later. Continue.
It was BBC Worldwide. And yeah, I mean, they have millions and millions of viewers. Or I did Good Day Chicago, which spans all of Chicagoland, which is like 10 million people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a window in the morning that people are watching. It's a small portion of that window, and it passes, and it's not like you don't marinate on it in any way. So like getting on a big podcast, if I got an armchair expert or something, like someone with 500,000 followers would be the cool thing. I've been so happy about the journey though, man. I mean, I'm just going to keep writing, and I'll figure this shit out. But like, yeah, I think it's got a place in the culture. It's already established itself. It's just got to find the people, or got to put it in front of the people that really means the most to them. And they're like, holy shit. Like, I want to tell everybody at my store about this.
You're right.
That's
where we need to get it. And now, talking about like the different promo and stuff you've done, I mean, it is weird. Okay. I mean, and I think you and I can relate to this. It was like, I was approached I've done like insider stuff, and I've done like BBC Brazil and whatnot, and there's no bumps, but I will say for the first time ever in the history of the podcast, I wound up doing something for Vox.com. And I think Irish would, agree here. They actually, what they used of me was put in a really positive light. And from that point on, it's bumped. No, not viral, mind you. Okay. But has bumped enough that other people are taking interest. And the reason I asked you about Patty Hirsch was I was sent an email from NPR, this representative want me to do something with them. And I guess really and truly with what we do, both of us, because of the subject matter is so niche, it's small steps. And then it sucks. I mean, because, forget me. I mean, you wrote books. That's a lot of work. Me getting on a camera ranting about retail was something totally different, but you put the work in and, you have a finished, published product that needs to be gotten out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of shut up. I'm going to let Irish kind of continue this thought if he has something, and we'll kind of go from there.
Well, I'll only add that things can snowball. Like we've had it in the past, and it's related to what Steve just said there, is that I might get a message somewhere like on Reddit, and then I pass it on to Steve, and then someone contacts Steve, and next thing he does a small little interview, and that gets no traction. But somebody from another media was looking out for these type of articles, read that, and then they contact Steve, which is pretty much what happened with NPR, I think. Isn't that correct, Steve?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah. So something that we didn't think bore any fruit, like it was just a waste of time, actually. And I won't name the who didn't bother talking about us, but
New York Times.
All right, there you go. So so somebody that was a waste of time. That was a complete failed project. But someone from NPR obviously was reading that and said, who's this Steve guy? And next thing you know, he gets contacted. So it all started off from a little stupid inbox thing from 3 months previous. So sometimes I'm not going to say it's going to go viral, but you just don't know. Little seeds can be planted, and you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. It slowly working its way into the zeitgeist I guess it's a process. It's like what's weird is I've had the most success with Facebook ads, and they're really simple.
Oh, really? Have you?
Yeah. That's by far the most successful thing, and it's cheap, and it gives good results.
It is cheap. That is for sure.
Yeah. You do actual, it doesn't cost you anything until they actually click through, where Amazon. So you put in keywords is one of the ways you can do it. And one keyword that's really high priority might cost $1.50, but if they click on it, it costs you $1.50, but they might not click through, if that makes sense.
Right.
They just, he looks interesting, and then just move on from it. And it's hard to master all that stuff. It's all complicated. Google ads would be another one too, but Facebook ads, I literally $5 a day has been getting me 1 to 2 books, which is profit every day. And now I'm running quite a bit more, and I got the ads a little bit more honed in, and now I'm doing 4 or 5 books a day. So and still breaking a profit.
I think that a lot of people discount Facebook because of what it is, but I've ran, how it is. We're not going to get into details, but boost this post X amount of dollars, and you don't pay any money until it hits X amount of people. And yes, it to be real honest with you, and it sounds crazy to say this, I think Facebook's marketing is about the best out there, to be honest with you, because
I think so.
It's the results are there. You can chart it, you can see what you're doing and whatnot. And, it's not expensive. Would you not agree? It's extremely affordable.
Yeah. It's very manageable. What I've done is I want to make a profit per day. Right. So that's the goal, or a profit over long term.
Right.
And now I'm spending $15 a day, but I'm selling, $25 to $30 worth of books.
Correct.
So, making money. And the thing about it is it's such a slow method, right? But it could go viral. It could, like, I've had days where it got shared 8 times. Like boom, 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 boom. And what you want, would be cool is, like, 100 people share it, and then that multiplies like in it very quickly. But it's affordable. It's very specific too. You can get really specific with the track. I know on this one specifically, I like was able to pick interests, which are like all the different grocery stores in the country.
Right.
And not so much the people that work at them, because that's a smaller group of people. Like where they said it's the occupation. And that just, when I took a course on this, that wasn't the one that they said recommend. The interest is, and it's been more fruitful with interest.
Right.
But yeah, it's like you got to do all the legwork. I guess everyone, it's always nice to like dream of or want like an easy fix, or just like, oh, someone to just see my shit, and share it. Some dude with like 1 million followers now, like, and you can make a lot of videos like that Scott Seiss guy, but he also hit it at the right time, right? Like he hit it.
Well, I mean,
right.
And the thing with him, he's a comedian. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, and he doesn't shy away from that fact. Some of us aren't comedians. Some of us are just like, fuck this,
Steve, you're hilarious. Okay.
And I work at a grocery store still. I'm raking in the big bucks.
If I could animate or somehow act out the like interactions in the book, that could be turned into video. That'd be probably pretty funny. But it's just you got like Reddit is one thing. That's where you found me, right?
Yeah, I found you on Reddit, and like the moment you announced your book, and I've done stuff I've shut everything on Reddit down. Reddit is it's accessible. I mean, those people over there think they know everything, and it's fine. And it happened again on the last video we did. I've asked for people to quit spreading our stuff on Reddit, because what happens is you get people, for whatever reason, hey, watch this Retail Warzone video. They click on it for like 30 seconds and turn it off, and it kills all your stats. It's like, quit sharing the shit, man. If we get found, let it be organic and let's just move on. But yeah, Reddit, that's a different world, bro.
Yeah, you got to get karma, right? You got to build up some sort of like status on that site, and that takes I don't want to fucking be on there, dude.
No,
I don't have any interest in being on Reddit for any reason. So, but like this is all kind of inside baseball. I don't know if
it's fine. It's fine. But we are sitting at an hour and 11. And what? Real quick, I wanted to bring this up tonight. We've talked about this in the past, and I really want to do this because I know I've been kind of absent on social media, and the Warzone's kind of taking a back seat, but it's coming. It's ramping up. We're getting to that time of year. What does everybody think about a GoFundMe or whatnot to do a Retail Warzone con? And if we were able to raise enough money to do a Retail Warzone con, it would most likely, by my preference, be in Atlanta. And if we were able to do that, Adam Kaat, would you like to attend?
Oh, go to Atlanta and talk to all you guys in person?
Yeah, it'd be awesome. So it's kind of like a dream. Maybe not in 2023, maybe 2024. We got plenty of time there, but that's something I would like to do. But once again, I would love, to do something like that. I think it'd be awesome. No, it would not be Helen hybrid. We're not going to ride on the intertubes. No, it would be in Atlanta. It'd probably be around Hartsfield, somewhere around there. But that's something we would have to figure out the logistics and whatnot. But having said that, before we wrap up here, Irish, you have any more questions for Adam real quick?
I would just like to know, would you consider writing again with like retail being like a central theme in a book, or would you prefer to keep going in a different direction?
I think like for me, writing I do best when I'm connected to it, like directly connected to it.
Right.
And I do feel like this rounded off a certain, like very certain part of my life. I would maybe be interested in writing, like, honestly, I think this should be a show, a mini series. I've thought about like turning that, like trying to get an agent.
It should.
Like writing up some, like at least 2 episodes and then doing, shots on it and all that stuff. I have an idea for a 3rd book that has kind of been grabbing at my heart for a while. Everyone that reads the 2nd one will see, like, there's a 3rd character that comes in that's Daniel's kind of escape, and I want to do basically a spin-off book of that, not written from Daniel's perspective,
New character.
but yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, I want to build a universe of characters.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Like this character will live on its own in a way. And you have to, once you read it, you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about. I don't want to give away too much. But also, like, other characters, just have like build another character in the same city as in Denver as the other one that frequents and sees the same characters, that sort of thing.
Right.
I think that's fun. If other people have projects they want to work on with retail, I'm more than happy to help with what writing knowledge and like ability I have. But yeah, I mean, retail, like customer service, like I said, it's been my entire life, man. I'm deeply connected to it. If there's someone has an idea, I'm more than open to like help or like think about it. And yeah, I don't know if that's the direct path I'm trying to go, but I'm very open to it for sure. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I really can't figure it out. And it's been frustrating. I got to fucking sit down in a coffee shop for like a few weekends. Once maybe my birthday passes, I'll be able to do that. And then maybe this fall I'll start hammering away at something. Maybe it'll do with retail though too.
Fully understand. And the last comment in the chat, Hero says, that's what retail is though. A universe of characters. And I think that's a great way to end this because it is. Adam, any ideas you have or whatnot, especially if you start stumbling into the TV realm, hit me up. Mm-hmm. I got a lot. And yeah, I think we'll see what we can come up with. I've got no problem.
Just so you all know, this is such cool fucking art.
Oh, it is. Yes.
Is
Look, it is. There it is. The patron saints of grocery.
Yeah.
The artwork on the 2nd edition for Life on the Grocery Line is exceptional, and it matches so well with the 2nd book that they look phenomenal side by side. Absolutely.
They really do. I think it's a beautiful, like in the end, it ended up being such a beautiful work of art, dude. I'm so proud.
It did. It looks great. I mean, all right. So look, I'll put them up here. I don't know if my camera pick them up because they got green screen, but here they are. All right. So this is both books side by side. I mean, look at that. I mean, the artwork is consistent. It looks great. Go get them. Go do it. And then lastly in the chat, Blame Tag says, do a few guest spots at the serving time. So you know how to get in touch with Blame Tag. Do your thing. Having said that,
I think it's awesome. It's so good.
Yeah. Having said that, Adam, I'm going to give you last words before we get out of here. What do you got to say?
Thank you so much for having me on, man. This really means a lot to me. I'm very grateful for you, Steve and Irish, and yeah, it's quite the cast of characters, and I can't wait to see where this all goes. If we kind of like maybe connect, like stay connected, keep working on ideas, try and get it out there. You never know what might happen. We might be able to really change some hearts and minds, get out there and do something. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. I mean, you hold the record. You're on for the 3rd time. I think Stephen Petrovelli is coming up on his 3rd time. So, but you are the record holder as of right now. So having said that, everybody have a great evening. Check out the links to his shop. Go buy the books. It's worth it. Help support somebody that worked in the industry in one of the roughest times in most of our lifetime's history. Go do it. If you have ideas, do you have a contact you spot on your website, Adam?
Best way would be through Facebook for sure.
All right, Facebook.
Through Adam Jonathan Kaat.
Yep.
I check that regularly, so that's
so find him out there. Blame tag if you want to collab with Adam. You know how to get a hold of him. Having said that, Irish, do you have any last words?
I'm going to enjoy reading your books.
Exactly. I'm going to enjoy about them being history books is what I'm going to enjoy. So having said that, everybody have a great evening, and we will see you next time. I'll let you guys know what's coming up soon. Have a great night. Stay safe. See you later.